seems to me that people are obsessed with meters and looking at meters all the time. I don't look at any meters, and I'll tell you why a lot of pros don't. So some of the questions that I'm getting are based on how much I need to put in the low end, based on meters, what meters I use, what different levels I meter at, and all this kind of thing. And what I've found with everyone that I've worked with on a professional level as mastering engineers is they're not really looking at the meters in the same way that people that are amateurs are looking at the meters. The main thing they're looking at meters for is for the end level, so how loud they're going. They're not really looking at spectrum graphs and things like that, and then they're not really analysing it in as much detail as everybody thinks you need to analyse. So everybody is over-analysing themselves based on a load of various meters that have come up over recent years that will tell you every bit of information you need, K meters and RMS meters and LUFS meters, and so everybody seems to think that it's a really important thing. Now, personally, you may think I'm wrong, but personally, from my experience and from what I've seen working with other engineers, is they're only using them, as I say, just to see where they're going, either into their desk to get an idea of what level they're going in, what level they're coming out, and what level they're hitting things at. And that's more to do with making sure they're not distorting and they don't get, I've got a real thing for seeing red lights. If I see a red light, it feels wrong. If something's flashing, then it feels wrong. And these are instinctive things that I've picked up over the years from, say, if a clock light is flashing, it's not locked. So they're kind of things you look for, and looking for, flashing red lights. I know I might be distorting, I might be pushing too hard. So they're things I'm kind of looking out for. And so that's really all the meters I'm doing, really, is I'm looking for those, and I want to know how loud I'm getting it, kind of where it's peaking. A lot of people will say to me, well, do you not use a spectrum analyzer to then see how much bass and how much top you've got, and should that be flat? And no, I never do. I've never used one of those. The only time I did ever see it was any use was when I didn't have speakers that were full range, so I could just see if there was anything happening in the lows. But I really couldn't base any of the things that I did as an engineer, any EQ or any compression that I did, based on looking at those. I mean, that didn't really tell me anything at all. Yeah, I can kind of see, okay, that's sort of springing out a bit there. If you're using a dynamic EQ or a multi-band, you can see, okay, well, that's where the bass is happening. It's quite handy from that point of view to be able to zone in quickly, but I can tend to do that by ear and by feel. So I don't really want to see a meter and go, okay, well, because that's doing that there, I need to keep something on it, or because I can see that spiking. It's like, okay, I can see it's doing that, which is fine, but did I have an alert in my head? So when I go back to the alerts of seeing flashing lights or reds or whatever, was I alerted by a sound? Did I think it was too sibilant? Did I think that spiky vocal was a problem? So I obviously didn't before I saw it, so that's why I didn't do anything about it. So it's kind of the same in the low end. Did I think it was too boomy? Or even though it looks wildly big on a meter, it might not actually sound like that when you're actually listening to it compared to what's happening within the track. So I don't even look at that stuff. I don't know any engineers that do. There's vectroscopes. I used to use those occasionally. I mean, things like when you're cutting vinyl, that is, you have to use some meters for that. But again, that's just a precautionary thing to make sure that you're not going over or not, especially when it comes to the cutter head, to see if it's too bright. But again, you can normally hear that, and then you put an acceleration limiter on it based on your hearing. I think it's really important to not use your eyes and to use your ears, and to realise that the meters are there, but they're not really that important. So kind of try and ignore them, because most pro engineers do. They are just using them just as a guide to levels and loudness and how things are going, and they're not really using them in the same way that people think they're using them, and that they're relying on them that much. They're not really relying on them. They rely much more on their ears than they do from what they visually see. So yeah, for me, I just use them, just as I say, for levels. So I hope that gives you a bit more guidance on using meters and getting stuff out of meters. I'd like to know in the comments all your thoughts on this, what meters you are using, and ones you think have been really helpful, and why I'm wrong. I'd always like to know why I'm wrong, and also if you agree and if you think that there's something that I'm missing with meters. So yeah, thanks for watching. Till next time, don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.